stream this is, but we have been going on and on and on here for the past year about a lot of stuff. But I want to start off by saying this: absolutely nothing we have covered in the last year and a half and beyond does not compare to tonight. Um, man, you know, as a truther, as a conspiracy theorist, as someone that's hungry for the truth, like a lot of you, you see the rabbit hole and you see Alice in Wonderland all the time. And you find all kinds of stuff in the movies. And like when I say movies, we're gonna get into a lot of Alice in Wonderlands tonight. You see a lot of stuff, right? But I'm gonna pick apart some stuff that I don't think anybody's picked up on, along with some other stuff. Lately, if you've been following along with Beyond the Veil, you know that we have been touching on a topic that you will not find anywhere else, not just on the internet. But I don't think anybody in the world talks about some of the stuff we've been covering lately. Um, Mostly dealing with James and John, the Sons of Thunder, and their repeat reveals through history. And before anybody's like, "Oh, but you said real this and that," just wait. We also talked about like this whole thing with Johns and their trips to islands and discovering Titans and secret things, which we're going to talk about tonight. Lots of crazy stuff. But we've also covered one of the biggest conspiracies going around right now that that a few pages have picked up on, and that's the Millennial Kingdom, which I started covering in depth a little bit last year, and it has blown up ever since. Um, it was amazing. If you have any questions about 1,000-year reign and my viewpoint on that, I'll show you where to go right here, right now. Actually, let's see. So I will show you where to start with 1,000-year reigns. Okay, we need to go to this page. Okay, boom. All right, screen is sharing. So if you would like to pick up on the 1,000-year reign extra points on top of tonight, which by extra points, I mean like 9 episodes, 3 hours apiece, all in depth scripture and geological stuff, all kind of put together for you to see. Here's where you can go. Okay. First of all, I want to tell some people something that is being missed. Okay. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I can't find any of your videos anymore." When you come to my YouTube channel, usually it'll take you here to the home page. And for here, most of the time it'll show little stuff like this, but it'll pull up all these shorts and this stuff down here if you have a cell phone. And you won't even see these here. But I'm going to encourage you guys, when you come to my page, I don't do really much of anything except for live streams. Go to my live section. Okay. And there's a whole pile of fun for you guys. But I have also categorized some things, and I'm bringing this up because I had a lot of questions about where to find some of my videos on this stuff. I have 3 big playlists kind of pieced together here, kind of for you guys to dig through. Some of these in the American Lies about what I believe American history truly was and the cover up that happened with that. And that's actually tied in with this 1,000-year reign. This Godzilla Leviathan breakdown is about all things going on in the oceans right now, way before it even started, and the eclipses, etc. And this right here is, I don't want it to play and whatever, but I'll pause. This one right here, okay, is where I would start. This is part 1. And this goes into a series of, let's see, we've got 16 videos here, including the one tonight. Okay. And I have those in order for you. So here's where you can watch all those. I'm really hoping you guys will do that. Okay. But we're not going to be getting into all those topics. It's going to be something completely added on to everything else that we've covered here on this page. Okay. But before I go on anymore, I would like to see, number one, what's going on in the chat box over here. Make sure you guys are good. I was wondering if you guys could hear me. I haven't seen any complaints so far. Usually you guys are all over that. So if you can, wow, thank you, Gigi, for that super sticker. I will say this though, if you're going to donate to the page, to the channel, any of those things, which I would ask for you guys if you would like to, that was encouraged, being that I only have 5,000 followers. They got me demonetized on Facebook, and you can't really do anything with 5,000 followers except for if people want to donate. So if you would like to donate, that is one way to do it. However, YouTube takes that money, some of that money, a good chunk of it. So if you would like to help my page out and help my channel grow, people are like, why is this guy asking for money? Well, I spend hours upon hours upon hours just hoping that people will, listen more than anything, but there's also people who are willing to help pouring into these studies. And then people complain that my videos are 3 hours long with me presenting the things that I spent hours and days before assembling together. If you would like to help out with the channel, I do have my Cash App down here below, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and my PayPal, and I also have a Venmo, which is here. Not doing this for the money though, okay? But this is my Venmo. But I'm going to get on with this part of everything. I encourage you guys to really take a deep breath tonight, okay? And really think hard about everything we've talked about because it's all going to come together in a big, big way tonight, okay? So, welcome everybody. I see you're busy over here in the chat box. I'm going to encourage you guys, if you would love to chat in the chat box, go ahead, but I will encourage you guys, don't miss a blink tonight. I have a lot of people that are like, oh, I have to rewatch your video like 3 or 4 times because I missed so much because so much comes out of your mouth in such a little time. I'm encouraging you guys, take your time listening to this stuff. Not once have I said, hey, sit down for 3 hours and listen to this whole video. Even the people live, I'm not making you sit here. You know, you guys have the ability to hit the pause button. I don't. Hit the pause button, hit the rewind button, hit the fast forward button. I don't care. Okay. Speaking of buttons, if you guys could, as you're pouring in here, and I'm trying to let this video build up a little bit to help with the algorithm, if you could go on and hit the like and or thumbs down button. I don't care. Subscribe button, notification bell, get a little jump in the algorithm so that the YouTube can stop its little shutdown thing that it's been doing on me here lately. And that'd be great. So here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm excited. Step one on tonight is this. Okay. Where in the world are you going to go? We're going to start by looking at Alice in Wonderland in order from like 1950s. You can go back even further to 1800s. They were actually presenting Alice in Wonderland in plays and whatnot, which we're going to talk on a little bit. But I want to get to like the big chunk of things tonight. So I'm going to start with the one that most people know, the TV cartoon series that came out before the real one. This one here. Okay. We're going to be talking about this. I want you all to see so you know which one it is. This one first. Okay. However, I have to do a little bit of, I guess, catch up so people aren't lost here at the beginning. Okay. Here it goes. Lately, we've been uncovering some crazy, crazy things going on in this world. One of those things would be, let's see, one sec. Let me see if I can get this pulled up. I got another thing I want to show you where it's got everything in order. Okay. Awesome. So here we go. I have, oh, I can't pull it that way. I'm going to read some things then. You just have to listen. Here's some of the things we've gone through lately and discovered together about James's and John's and their journeys to mysterious islands, such as John in the Bible, who went to the island of Patmos where he was exiled, and he saw beasts and things rising out of the abyss, discovering things and whatnot, also seeing fire falling down and all this stuff. We have that John. But here's some other Johns we have uncovered here in the past couple of weeks who have done the exact same thing over time. Are you ready for this? First, we've got, I think I can present some of these things. I got some different ones I'm going to show you guys tonight, so I don't want to jump straight to those. Okay. First, let's start with, all right, Avatar. We talked about Avatar. In the movie Avatar, first of all, Avatar is written by James Cameron. Okay. But it's also right here produced by John Lindahl. Okay. So you have a James and John producing together this movie Avatar about a guy named Sam. Would you guess what Sam's middle name is? Sam also goes by Jake Sully. Jake, we're going to find out, is another translation. The correct translations of James is actually Jacob, which is nuts because that's what Jake stands for in this, Jacob Sully. But more than that, we have Sam's middle name is John, who plays this man who becomes another man, goes to another planet as a blue creature and discovers all kinds of crazy stuff, right? This John here. So you have a James and John coming together to produce a show about a guy named John that goes to another place and discovers a lot of things and truths and does the good thing as the hero. Okay. That's awesome, right? But then we talked about Atlantis because I've been doing a lot of Atlantis decode. In the Atlantis movie, you have Michael John Fox, who plays Milo James Thomas. and goes to the island of Norway and into the volcano, into the heart of the earth to discover all the Atlantean kingdom. Okay. So you have another Michael, John. Michael's the other one because you got to remember, and Peter Pan. You have John and Michael going with Wendy to Neverland Island. So here you have Michael John Fox, who goes to the mysterious island as Milo and discovers the lost empire of Atlantis. And we also have Michael J. Fox, who is what? Well, you got it. He also goes back in the time, back in the past, back to the future in Biff. Here you have him, the time traveler himself, Michael John Fox himself, who goes back in time. I think I bring that up here as well. I'm going to be exiting stuff off because I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed by all this stuff at the top of the screen because it's not all going to be talked about. So there you have John going to the planet, John going to this place. And his name's James. Okay. And then you have this. Let's talk about the Mummy and Brandon Fraser. Who is Brandon Fraser? Brandon James Fraser. Well, Brandon James Fraser is the Mummy, the main character in the Mummy. He's also George of the Jungle in the Jungle, the mysterious island man. He's also the one that goes through the journey to the center of the earth to the island. Okay. But he's also, well, all kinds of heroes and other things we can get to. Okay. So everything you can imagine, James, well, he's done the same thing as John. So you have Brandon James Fraser and his many journeys to the center of the earth and things of that sort as well. Not to mention all the Mummy movies, okay? But let's fast forward even more. Let's look at The Wizard of Oz, the other big everybody wants to talk about. Well, Jack and the Beanstalk. Jack Sparrow is played by Johnny Depp. But here you have Jack Haley. And would you guess what Jack Haley's real name is? John Joseph Haley. So here you have Jack Haley, who's John Haley, who's what? Who's the Tin Man, who goes with Dorothy, Alice, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, okay? Goes with Alice to the Wonderland Island. Okay? So there's another Jack, James, John character going as well. But let's also go on a little further than this, okay? Here we have again. Let's talk about the Iron Giant. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. That was very rude. Here's what you have here in the Iron Giant. Okay? I got to remember which one the John guy was in this one, too. Let's pull it up like this. You have John Mahoney. Who's John Mahoney? Well, that's John Mahoney. Who does he play as? Well, we'll see down here. You can't make this stuff up. Hold on. And you have James also, who also plays the robots, the other guy after the robot, okay, that comes out of the abyss. And John is the general who's after the robots. So you have James and John working together against the Iron Giant himself, James and John. But in addition, you have Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas here as well doing the voices. Pretty nuts, right? You guys are like, oh, that's just a coincidence, right? Nah, watch this. It gets nuts. So now we have this. Let's talk about John Madden and how he is the voice of football, the voice of Madden. You have John Madden. You guys are like, well, that's just coincidence. Nope. John Madden is literally the one behind every single football game, not just football game, but he is considered known as the voice of football. John Madden. You guys are like, that's still a coincidence. Well, let's talk about X-Men. Do you guys know who Charles Xavier is? Charles Xavier is played by James McAvoy. This guy. And do you know Cyclops? He was the first one who died. Well, you remember the first disciple that died? The first disciple that died was who? James. James was the first disciple to die. Well, here you have the first X-Man that died, James, who plays Cyclops. And they're also, their leader is James, who plays, you know who? I've just got into it, okay? Same thing. Now, if you think that's weird, guess what Logan's real name is? Logan's real name is James Logan Howlett. So now the Wolverine's name is James, who goes with James and John also. It's weird, right? That Logan is also James, but it's even more weird when you look at Hugh Jackman. Let's see about Hugh Jackman, about his name. You want to see Hugh Jackman's full name? Let's see. Don't forget Jack is also James, right? We discussed that also. Who is Michael? Here's your Michael. Hugh Michael Jackman slash Jamesman. Can't make this up, right? So, and then you have Patrick Stewart. Okay, because you know it's SpongeBob and Patrick, right? This guy is also Merlin in this other movie I was talking about, and he's in a lot of other important movies as important characters, right? Pretty strange. Well, let's look at some more stuff here. Let's look at this guy. Well, don't you know that he's the hero in Sonic the Hedgehog who works hand in hand, James does, against Jimmy James Carrey in Sonic the Hedgehog with the blue hedgehog. And then you have this, Enchanted. Well, you got it. He's one of the princes in there as well. And then, let's see what other movies we've got. We can just probably decode the mess out of this guy. Hop! Here he is, the rabbit, the leader. And then we have so much other, just James. Anyway, here we go. Let's go a little further. Then I found out about this guy right here. Look at this guy, Elliot James. This guy's 43 years old, and he's set to produce in a new sci-fi comedy film called Wormhole and the Washer, directed by Kane. Weird, right? Same thing, tied into Shakespeare, Jane, Mary Jane and Spider-Man, Peter Parker. We have all these things. The Special Place, Cock Robin, which is Robin Hood, stealing from the rich, giving to the needy. You have the Library of Burned Books. Don't you know that King James wrote one version of the Bible, but John Tidnell and John Wycliffe translated and did the other? So you have James and John, the writers of the Bible. Well, the translators of the Bible, James and John. That's strange. But what's even more strange than that is when you look at Men in Black, the two main characters, well, you got Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. You guys are right. Well, why is that? Well, don't you know who Agent J is and Agent Kane? You have Kane, and then you have James. Will Smith plays James, who is the leader of Men in Black. And if you think that's weird, well, guess what else Will Smith plays in? Wild Wild West. And guess who he is in this as well? William Smith plays Captain James. And then you have Artemis, Diana, Lucy in the Stars, Diana, Artemis, James and Artemis, James in The Shining, Kevin Kline as the main characters. Once again in the Wild Wild West. That's so strange. But that's not even the tipping point. Let's look at Johnny Bravo. You guys remember Johnny Bravo? Well, Johnny Bravo. Check this out. Do you know where Johnny Bravo comes from? Well, Johnny Bravo is based off of, well, you got it, James Dean. That's weird. The blonde-haired, sunglass-wearing, blue-eyed James Dean. And then you have Adam West. But then you also have all these Josephs that we've been talking about always in the background. Because, you know, Joseph Biden comes before John Trump and John F. Kennedy Jr. as well. Just like John F. Kennedy Jr., Johnson was the president before him. Speaking of, check this out. Do you know who saved the world, supposedly, back in the 1962? Well, John F. Kennedy in the Cuban Missile Crisis. He was the savior. And guess what he did? He stopped that. The next year, he got assassinated, got killed. But guess what else? Now we have another missile crisis appearing in Cuba because we have China and Russia once again down there in Cuba. And now we have Donald John Trump and John F. Kennedy Jr. running for president again during the same time again. Pretty strange. Now, Johnny Bravo. I don't even want to get into that. It's such a crazy, it's provocative, really. So I don't want to get into that too much. But I want you to see this too. This man right here has been in a lot of stuff we talked about earlier. There we go. It's called literally Hades 2. And this is the game in which he is also portrayed in as well. But I don't want to get off track. Hold on one sec. All right, here we go. This is where things get crazy. You ready? Now, watch this. Okay. Do you know James and John were called the sons of thunder, right? Sons of thunder. And the first disciple to die was James, the last that was told this at the Passover. Peter was mad because, well, Peter was jealous. Peter was full of envy because he looked at John as he was laid back. And he was like, Peter was told that he was going to be stretched out and killed a certain way. But then he turns to John. He says, well, what about him? And Christ says to John, he says, what is it to you if I want John to remain behind until I return? Well, that's what he said. And that's why John don't have a recorded death outside of 88 years old, which is a repeat number found in Back to the Future and everything else. Or is everything else we've been covering as well. But this is what's weird here. Do you know Marvel and DC like to put stuff in your face? Well, guess who the Thunderbirds are in this X-Men universe? Well, there's John Proudstar and James Proudstar. Stars are messengers, just like he writes a letter to the angels, the stars, the messengers of Ephesus and Philippians and all those other places. Check this out. It's not to get confused with John Proudstar right here. Oh, another writer and comic book writer, John Proudstar. But this is another John Proudstar, whose brother is James Proudstar. Now listen to this. In this story, the comic book story, what happens is John is a hero and he dies, and James, his brother, sees him and thinks that he was killed by someone else, and he takes vengeance out and joins the wrong side of X-Men against him. But then in the end, he finds out the whole time that John was okay and John was revived. And next thing you know, John and James are revived and back to life together. Yep. All right. So here we go again, because this gets way, way crazier. Besides this, don't forget they're the Sons of Thunder. It's John Proudstar, the Thunderbird, and James Proudstar, the Thunderbird. They're both Thunderbirds. Here's where I'll show you James down here. James Thunderbird, his brother. Where are you at? Ooh. I hope you guys are excited as I am, because we ain't even cracked this can of worms open yet. This is just me getting going right here. Woo! I can't find it. Here we go. Here we go. While he was a teenager, John's mother, Maria, because Christ looked down at Mary and said, hey, John, behold your mother. Mother, behold your son. Right? Well, guess what John's mother's name, James and John's mother name? Maria. Mary. So here we have James and John and Mother Mary here, right? Okay. Strange. Ooh. Now, do you guys know who Captain America is? Now, first, before we do that, let's look at another important X-Men character named John Allardyce. John dies and comes back to life. John starts working for the bad guys and ends up working for the good guys after he's brought back to life and realized he's been tricked by Magneto. Now, John can control fire and his opposite controls ice. Would you believe it? And then guess what? Well, let me see. Here he goes to an island, Alcatraz Island, where he torches the cars for Magneto 3rd. This is where they go to the island and start the apocalypse in the movie X-Men Apocalypse. That's weird, right? Let's keep on going here down the road because we're just getting started. Let's not forget about the post. Look, my show is based off this show. Beyond the Veil is based off this dude. I am Rowdy Piper. Okay, let me tell you something. Okay, check this out. Do you know who the actors are? Roddy Piper plays John Nada, which means that's where John Doe comes from. Like when they can't identify the body, they're just going to assume, hope it's John Doe. He's going to revive himself, John Doe. So here you have John again, and he's exposing all these enemies, right? Well, guess who the writer of this show is? Well, you got it, John Carpenter, because it's the Carpenter's son. All right, here we go again. This gets even crazier, right? So there's that. All right. Now look at his other movies. Oh wow, I can't get into any extra side holes that I'm seeing while I'm going through this with you. I'm gonna stick to what I've got pulled up already. Next, we have this. Do you remember this man from Interstellar? Well, he was the man behind everything. You know what his name is? Professor John Brand. You got it. But guess what his real name is? Michael Caine. Well, here we go. You have another John Michael Caine going off to space, discovering all kinds of things, discovering weird things, saving the world in a wormhole. Right? Well, that's weird, right? But let's see if we can find something else. Hmm. Let's look at this role of Johnny Depp. You guys are like, that looks a lot like Donald John Trump. Well, guess what? It is Donald John Trump. Can you believe that Johnny Depp actually played Donald Trump in this whole funny die thing that he did where he played Donald John Trump? Can you believe it? That's weird, right? But the main thing is this. Well, this guy goes to the underworld with Davy Jones' locker, gets swallowed by the Kraken. This guy is in the underworld, Johnny Depp, our theme of topic tonight. And this one right here, you have Donald John Barron Titter Trump, the time traveler, who went to the center of the earth with his little dog. And his son's name is Barron as well. But don't forget, it's Jack and the Beanstalk as well, which is another name for James. So John is both James and John going to these places, by the way, if you haven't put it. But then you have Edward Scissorhands, the beast himself, who is John. Have you seen all this stuff? Willy Wonka. Would you believe it? And the Oompa Loompas that come from the island of Oompa Loompa Land? Well, John went to Oompa Loompa Land to discover those weird things. Here you have this as well. Sweeney Todd, the demon barber. John has done a lot of weird things, right? Now, here we go. Let's go on a little further. This is going to get crazy. Now, let's start back at Alice in Wonderland. Now that you see where this is going, let me see what we got going on here. There's only 125 of you in here. That's okay. If you're 125 of you can go on and hit that like or subscribe button. That'd be great because I'm going to continue forward. Hope you guys are enjoying this and hearing me clearly because it's about to get nuts. Okay, so Alice in Wonderland, in case you don't know the story, okay? As a child, Alice was told to believe truly from her dad, okay? Her dad said that she'd gone mad. But most of the good people, all the good people, most of the cool, exciting people, the best kind of people have gone mad. Like John the Baptist and all the other disciples that were considered mad, right? Well, here's the thing. It's so hot in this barn. We have a heat advisor here in North Carolina. It's like 98 degrees. So if you see me sweating, it's kind of weird. I'm getting excited and hot at the same time. So hold on one sec. Let me mute this so you don't hear me. Okay. I hate hearing people drink, so I figured I'd squish that thing there for us. All right, here we go, guys. You ready for this? Here we go down the rabbit hole. Alice in Wonderland. So her and her father gets her to believe, right? And gets her like imagination stirred up as a kid, which is when she first went to Alice in Wonderland as a kid in this one, really, if you want to be specific. That's why they're always like, this is not the same Alice. It's a different Alice when she's older and goes back and she's trying to remember it. Okay. Well, Alice ends up having to be forced into trying to marry Hamish, which is this weird prince. The whole thing is Alice is really a princess, and you'll learn that at the end when you see her father leading the ships and all this stuff. That's why she has to marry a lord. Okay, so she's a princess destined to marry a prince, as it always is in Disney movies. Okay, however, she don't want to marry that guy, so she needs a moment once she sees a white rabbit that brings her excitement and joy. See, she gets excited and stuff when her imagination runs wild. That's when she gets joy. See, the white rabbit is dove. It's a dove. It's the white dove. Okay. Why does that matter? Well, you got to understand the spirit is also referred to as a dove when it descended upon Christ. Also the dove that went out before the ark as well. Okay. The white rabbit is the dove we are meant to follow. If you watch The Chosen, that's why they put the dove that Mary Magdalene followed also to the disciples. Okay. The white rabbit is the dove, and it's the distraction that's trying to wake you up. That's what's happening in the background. Wait till you find out who plays the white rabbit and also everybody else. Okay. Now, here we go with this. Okay. She goes into a rabbit hole. She descends down, and when she's in the underworld, Wonderland, Underland. Here's how she got there. She went through a tree portal, just like you see on Stranger Things and so many other movies, where she goes into the portal, just like on the show Once Upon a Time. That's how the savior of Once Upon a Time was transported into Storybrooke, where she was put inside of a tree with August, which is another important name we're going to talk about. There was a male and a female savior. Okay. Now, while she's in Wonderland, she does this whole adventure, and it ultimately leads to her going against the Red Queen with the White Queen. She went against the Red Queen to fight against the Jabberwocky, because you know I've been telling you guys about Jormungand. They're the Earth Serpent that has to be slayed at the end of time. Well, that's what happens. She slays the dragon at the end of time, and everything fixes itself. Authority is given back over to the White Queen, while the Red Queen took it. Okay, so do you know Alice in Wonderland is based off a true story? I'm going to prove tonight. It's going to be crazy. Huh, just heard something. Okay, anyway, so here we go with this. This movie, okay, was directed by these people, story by all this stuff. But here's what I want to get into. Let's look at this, the voice cast. This is where I started like going on a little rabbit hole with this one. Okay. Where are you at? 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 Okay, boom. That's what I was waiting for. I couldn't find it. There it goes. Okay, so the voice cast. Okay. Let's start looking at some of these characters in this movie. Okay. Starting with the Dormouse. The biggest topic that's overlooked in the decode of Alice in Wonderland is this: who were the two witnesses and who was the false witness? Well, if you paid attention, you know that the Dormouse and the Mad Hatter were the two witnesses chosen. But you also have the crazy Gray Hatter, who's called March Madness. March, that's where March Madness comes from. March Mad, which is the Mad Rabbit, the March one. I'll show you him in a little bit. Okay. Well, you know that Dormouse and the Mad Hatter are the ones that are the two witnesses chosen for Alice, the two witnesses. Now, why does that matter? Well, check out this dude. This guy's in the background, right? And this was in this first Alice movie that we've talked about here. This blew my mind so much, okay? This guy plays the Dormouse, one of the two witnesses, right? For Alice, when at the jewelry at the end. Well, watch this. So this guy, oh man, where is it? I think I already have it pulled up. Yes, watch this. I'm about to blow you guys' mind. This guy's name that does the Dormouse and everything that you can imagine, his name is John James McDonald. Now, why does that matter? Watch this. He was the second voice of Mickey Mouse. The first voice was Walt Disney himself. The second voice was passed over to this guy, James John McDonald, as the voice of Mickey Mouse. Okay? Now, what else does he do? Well, this man is literally the head. He was the original head of the Disney sound effects department. So, why does that matter? Well, if some well, there's this. Watch this. Let's see what some of his voices were. First of all, let's pay attention to this man's humility. He never wants any credit for anything that he does. He's always a voice in the background that plays important characters, but he don't care to take any credit for it at the end. But just wait till you see who he's actually playing. Okay? He's one of the seven drawers. He's the cowboy star. He's Donald's Vacation, various voices in that. Fantasia, the percussionist in the band. The reluctant dragon, the sound effects guy, all this stuff. But my whole thing wanted you to see was Alice in Wonderland, the Dormouse, but he also plays others. It don't even have anything listed in that. Not just uncredited, but nothing in there. He plays almost every important character in all these movies that you can imagine, including what I've been telling you guys about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You have James John in all these. James John McDonald is in every single one of these movies that you see here in front of you. Mary Poppins, Sword in the Stone, 101 Dalmatians, every one of these movies, you have James John McDonald as the lead, the head vocalist in the background behind all of them. All of them. The hyena, Mickey Mouse, all this stuff. Chip and Dale, okay? He is Chip and Dale. This is crazy to me, okay? Now, let's go on even further than Jimmy, James, John, McDonald, because you know that Jimmy is another name for James and John also that we've been uncovering, okay? All right, so now let's look at this, okay? We look past this one because we have a whole lot we need to get through. Let's look at the next one. Let's look at Alice in Wonderland, made in 1966. What was written by Jonathan Miller and directed by Jonathan Miller, and its first stars are John and Peter. Now, John, let's see which one he played in this one. John was the turtle, and Peter was the Mad Hatter. Okay. Then down here, let's look even further. We have Michael as the March Hare. So there's your three witnesses once again as and look at this. Peter, Michael, Peter, John, John Bird, David, another name. Avril Lavigne. We were talking about Avril Lavigne as the decode name of this whole thing. Oh my goodness. Look at this stuff right here. Producer Jonathan Miller, 1966. So now you have your Mary. There's your Mary we're looking for. Michael, Peter, John, and James probably somewhere in this whole shenaniganizer. Okay? Strange. Very strange. So let's go on even further. Let's look at this Alice in Wonderland. Could you believe it? First of all, we have Lewis Carroll, which is Charles. We can throw in Charles, but let's look at the illustrator, Sir John himself. Don't get him confused with John Tidnell, the English translator of the Bible. So here we have John, the illustrator, right? Well, let's see what else we can find here. I have all kinds of stuff that I need to get to, but I want to make sure we go through this stuff. There's your McDonald character again. And tell the story over and again. We're sure going to get into the story more in depth here in a little bit. I just want to go through all this stuff with you. This is crazy. All right, so I'll go on and pass this one, but you get it. This one also has the same story. James and John's involved in this as well. Crazy. And in 1966. So let's go on even further. Let's look at this one. Okay. We have Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp as the main head of everything here. Okay. We also have, there's our Joe character, John. This is where things get nuts. Helena, the evil queen, ties in with Hela of Troy and Hela, the wife of Zeus. Okay. And also she plays in a lot of bad characters, bad witches in a lot of movies like Harry Potter and stuff. And her name is literally Helena. Okay. Which is Zeus's wife, which we're going to talk about Harry Potter a little bit. But here we go with this. Michael Christopher Sheen. Okay. And this is weird, okay? So my dad's name is James. And my name means stone, like Thor's stone. Okay. And my daughter's name is Mia. Okay, which means beloved. Well, this is Alice, who's Mia, who's also, if you've been paying attention to Alice in Wonderland, you know this is her dad's alter ego in the underworld. Her dad died in the above world and went to the underworld. That's why she looks at her dad and holds his cheeks and says, I believe you have gone mad, but most of the best people are. Okay. This is her dad's alter ego. So he is the father of her as well, which is weird, right? So here's this. Let's look at this a little bit in depth more, because this one's where you guys are kind of really kind of getting into. Okay. Like you guys know more about this one than any of the other ones. So we'll be doing a little bit in-depth study on this one real quick. Just kind of tear it apart. It is so hot in here. Okay. Let's see where I want to start. Oh, snap. Wait a minute. I need to show you something. Guess who plays Tweedledee and Tweedledum? How do you spell Tweedle D and there we go. Guess who plays Tweedledee and Tweedledum? So here we have the Matthew and the Luke character here, which we're going to talk about a little bit also tonight. I'm going to be breaking down a lot of the disciples, that have been kind of scattered. This one has the Richard in here as well. That I want to show you, but we have another kind of biblical name here. I wish something else was going to go with that though. It wasn't even just that. I have to maybe go back to that. There's been so much stuff I've been wanting to talk about. So here you have this, right? Johnny Depp going and everything that took place in the underworld. Okay. Oh, yeah. Here we go. This is where I want to pick up at. Now, once Alice gets to the underworld, you need to know that she's greeted by the white rabbit, the dove. She's greeted by the dormouse and the dodo bird. If you guys have seen the movie Up, you know that in the movie Up, the dodo bird is an important character. But you also know that this happens. Watch this. In the movie Up, guess who's the characters in there? Mm-hmm. Okay, watch this. Mm-hmm. Where am I at? I gotta find that guy's name real quick. It's this guy. I gotta remember his name. What the guy that plays him? Voiced by. Let's see his full name. What was it? I gotta remember where I was getting at because this one, the Up movie had somebody. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Carl? Edward? Let's see. Edward Asner. Carl. I don't even remember who the guy's name is, but I want to say this had the same thing. I had it pulled up earlier as my stuff, so it was something in there as well that I wanted to talk about, but I don't want to get sidetracked. So anyway, the dodo bird is one that meets those two characters when they come into their island of South America, well, part of South America that they go to, and the dodo bird and the talking dogs, the talking animals, and all the mysterious things that happen there with the mysterious plants and all that stuff with those two characters went and greeted by the dodo bird. Okay. Well, that same theme is carried over here. The dodo bird represents being without a brain. This is why when you have the Wizard of Oz, you have the same characters themed out as what accompanied Alice in Wonderland in the Wizard of Oz. That was just kind of another scattered, same story, different thing. For example, Alice followed the trail. If you want to be specific, it was originally going to be the yellow brick road. Okay. It just is what it is. That's why when you see the Mad Hatter at tea time, he's sitting on the yellow brick road, but it's broken because the time stopped in Underworld. Okay. Now, strange. Right? I think so. So here we have this. Now let's go on even further. Now, Alice, through the looking glass. Can you believe that this was directed by somebody completely different named James? You have James, this completely different James, directing another Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass with the same characters in it, though. Johnny Depp, and you have your Mia there, right? And the Helena, and the Michael, okay? But you have a whole different director, a whole nother James coming in here to direct. Same thing. Weird to me, James and John constantly putting stuff in our face. Okay? Very, very strange. And in this one, we're going to be going through the looking glass in a separate decode because it's something completely different that goes on. And this does tie into the 1,000-year reign. So just wait. It's going to get nuts. Okay? So this, you had the same thing I want to show you, the James and then the Johnny Depp and also the Michael Sheen and all that stuff. Okay. Which I want to see who Michael Sheen played one more time. Michael Sheen. Where you at? There he goes. McTwist the rabbit. Michael is the white rabbit. You can't make it up. It's pretty nuts. That's what I was gonna get at earlier. So, oh, check this out. Oh, snap, snap, snap. All right, you ready? All right, so Guess who? Guess what Mia's last name is? Mia, who plays the savior, who helps Johnny, right? So you have this Mia character, Mia Wasikowska. Sounds a lot like Mike Wazowski, right? Check this out. You have Mia Wasikowska, right? Helping Johnny Depp go to the underworld and slay the dragon. They go hand in hand, these two do. Well, guess what? I was doing some research with the Wasikowska and I thought about something. I was like, I've seen something pretty similar to that before. Well, there's Mike Wazowski, who walks with John Gordon, who plays Sully. James P. Sullivan. This is James P. Sullivan, played by John and Mike Wazowski. Michael Wazowski. But what's his? So, look, you have John Gordon and Billy Edward, which is another William, and you have James Corbin. And there's your Mary. Wow. Oh, great. Okay, look, there's your Jimmy James again. Another edited by Jimmy James. Same thing, these two. That's where I got your Wachowski from, which is strange. Oh. So I want to show you that. That's how I got her tied in with Wachowski, because they do the same thing throughout all that stuff, right? All right, so let's move on from here. And let's not forget that John and Michael went with Wendy to Peter Pan at the island of Peter Pan against Captain Hook, who is James, Captain James Hook. Oh my goodness. They have James, John, and Michael and Peter in Peter Pan. So there's that, right? Now, boom, 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 boom. Do you guys remember the other day we did the King James decode and we found out that King James mistranslated king many times to, it was supposed to be tyrant, but he changed it to king? Well, in the underworld, they changed the king to tyrant down there, and this is his name, is Tyrant Hightop. Okay? And you know what he was? He was the high priest to the white. This is where it gets nuts, guys. The Mad Hatter, okay, is the high priest to the white queen, the snow queen, the queen, the good queen, okay? He's the high priest. This is why it's called the kingdom of Hightop. And this is why he stands at the right hand of the good queen during the millennial kingdom. This is where this gets in at. I'm going to show you guys something pretty nuts. Okay. And I hope it don't get copyrighted. So if you watch this later and this is taken out, do this research yourself. Okay. Watch this. If you go to YouTube, things getting nuts here. Okay. Oh, hope you guys are doing good. Make sure you get your stretches in because it's going to be a good one. Okay. Watch this. Alice in Wonderland. Burning City. Watch this. Please, 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 please have it. I gotta figure out a way to search for it like I did earlier. There it goes. All right. This is how I did it earlier. So on this scene here, I'm gonna mute it. I'm gonna fast forward it. I'm gonna close caption it best I can. Okay. I want to show you guys something nuts. Okay, we'll make sure it's muted. Settings. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so check this scene out, okay? This is before the Red Queen's reign. Before the Red Queen's reign, guess what was happening? A time of peace. Where there was, as Alice talked about, the time of peace between the above and the underworld. That's what's talked about in Alice in Wonderland 2. Alice in Wonderland 1, when she meets up with the White Queen, she was like, it was once peace above and below. This was during that reign of peace. Just before this, you see that the castle behind her looks exactly like the Walt Disney Castle, the Tartarian kingdoms, with the rising spires and mercury balls at the top is this kingdom here. And she is all white, sitting on a white horse. And here is her high priest standing at her side, her servant, her hatter, High Top, Tyrant High Top, which is King High Top, High Priest High Top, and the kingdom of High Top, High Hat. Okay. This is during their peace reign and everything like that. But you remember, the 1,000-year reign must come to an end. It says at the end of the 1,000-year reign, Satan, the dragon, Azazel will be set loose for a short season. This is where the great mud flood reset and the purging of the old kingdoms and the bombing campaigns and everything that hid the 1,000-year reign. Okay, which was, you got to realize, Dark Ages 450 to 1450 exactly, ran by the barbarians, the Tartarians. Okay, Tartaria. Okay, you have this. Tartarus is the prison of the fallen one in old Greek and other cultures. Okay, Tartaria is the prison city. Okay, so the fallen one's prison city. Then you have this Tart without. Well, in Alice in Wonderland, you got to realize there's multiple cases we're going to read about here in like the older books and stuff, where during the trial, the whole trial is about who has eaten the tarts. What happened to the tarts? What's going on with the tarts? Who left the tart crumbs? There's evidence of tart crumbs everywhere. Who did it? Well, that's what happened in there. So Tartaria is this, the prison of the dragon. That's why the Great Wall of China, the dragon, is facing inward. Everything outside of that is Tartaria. Inside of that is what? Well, that's where the prisoned Satan was bound for 1,000 years. That's why the Great Wall of China, the land of the dragon, surrounds that. Outside was Tartaria. The inside was where his prison was, the prison city. Okay? Tartarians are the barbarians, and they weren't barbaric, they were peaceful in the time of the unknown dark. Okay? Now, here's what's weird. Guess what happens? During their time of peace, the blue flame fire of the dragon was set loose and came over the land and destroyed everything, destroyed the millennial kingdom, destroyed the time of peace by fire. You have the black dragon coming in, destroying everything. Would you believe this, though? There's only one remnant that's left behind. The White Queen, who vanishes, leaving behind her sword Excalibur. The bad guy, you got to realize with the one eye symbolism here, the bad guy, the dark, right here, dark horse. But there's one remnant left. One remnant was left behind in this burning kingdom. The king, tyrant, Johnny Depp, to tell the story of what happened during the millennial kingdom that was burned to crisp. This is why what happened. Well, Alice had her memory taken. Her mind was wiped. She couldn't remember what happened. She couldn't remember anything. No one could remember anything during that year. No one. Now I want to remind you something about the Transfiguration. During the Transfiguration, Christ revealed himself to James, John, the sons of thunder, and then Peter. Strange, right? Well, like I said, here's this. Millennial Kingdom, burned to crisp, but you have the Mad Hatter there, who everybody thought was crazy when he tried to tell this story. He was like, I'm telling you, it was a big dragon. It came and burnt everything to crisp. And it drove him mad. Nobody would believe him. He tried to tell him, like I tried to tell you, hey, the millennial kingdom happened. Satan was released, and he spewed a mud flood out after the woman who was taken away by an eagle for a time and a half, the eagle being us, Mystery Babylon the Great, to be comforted on the shores of Babylon. But even the elect would be deceived in these days, and it says the tyrants would overrule you in those days and eventually have you in exile, like we're the slaves to the system today. Now, by the way, he flutter wagons, he dances, he celebrates at the end during what? Well, I told you guys, Armageddon is it in one story. You have Ragnarok in another story, but this one is the day of, what's the day called when when he comes and slays the Jabberwocky? I can't remember the name of it. Somebody's gonna say it in the comments. But there's that, okay? Millennial Kingdom hidden right from you in plain sight. Okay, now check this out. Let's go on a little further. Oh, snap. I want to show you this. Oh, snap. Where is that? All right, check this out. She plays Eve, guys, in a short film. Which I've been trying to tell you. Okay, I'll throw it all together, and I don't want to confuse you yet. Eve and Jane and all these other things. It's right her, the same girl. Okay? They used her in a lot of stuff. Whole lot of stuff. And then she retired. She didn't want to do it anymore. She was tired of being asked to be in everything because of her name. Right? Because that means beloved. Right here. Remember, John's the beloved. Well, Mia means beloved. Anyway, So there's that. John was the beloved, by the way. Mia means beloved. Amy means beloved too. My wife's name means beloved, and my daughter's name means beloved, which was nuts because we didn't know that till after the fact. Anyway, here we go. All right, so there's her. We've done her. Boom. Now let's look even further. Let's look into the Hatter a little bit. I want to see if there was anything I wanted to actually touch on. There's actually 3 or 4 different screens I've got pulled up for the Mad Hatter. Yeah. I'm not going to pull on this one too much because it's kind of the same thing as what I was just telling you. All right, here's where this gets. See, look, there's your 2 witnesses. Okay. The Dormouse's voice was Jimmy, John James McDonald, and Johnny Depp was the Mad Hatter. Okay. Now, this illustration of the Mad Hatter was done by Sir James Teniel, brother of John Teniel we were talking about earlier. Remember, I was like, hey, don't get John confused with John Tidnell. Okay, same thing. So here you have this, right? Same thing happening with him. I want to make sure I don't skip stuff, but I don't want to go too far on time tonight. You're getting the picture. You're getting the point. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to get into this too much because it's pretty much the same story as what I was just telling you about him. Now check this out. Here's the March hare. Okay. Now, why is the March hare important? Because the white rabbit symbolizes what? Peace. The gray rabbit represents confusion, destruction. The gray rabbit destroyed the white rabbit's clock when he brought it to him. He brought the clock to him. The gray rabbit messed with it and destroyed time, destroyed all of it. The gray rabbit also was the false prophet at the testimony. He was one that says, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about this. He denied it. And he's played by Peter. Can I tell you guys something weird? This is where things are going to get a little nuts. I need to make sure I'm with you guys when I'm talking about this one though. So let me get this off of here and pull this up so we can kind of have a serious talk here. Okay. How are they going to take this? I don't know how you're going to take this. So everybody's like talking about Paul, you know, kind of like, oh, he was a false prophet, this and this and that. Sometimes you hear some people talk like that. But I want to tell you something, okay? Christ said this right before something happened. Before Peter denied Christ 3 times before the rooster crowed, Christ literally was discussing this the day before. If anyone denies me before what? If anyone denies me before man, so will he be denied before the Father. Peter denied Christ 3 times. Do you know what else Peter did? Well, Peter always had a question, always had put a question mark behind everything. But do you know what else Peter did? Well, don't you know this? Christ turned to Peter and said, get behind me, Satan. Now, do you know what else is weird? Do you know what Simon means? The word Simon means to hear, listener, to hear. You ever wonder why Christ always said, he who has ears, let him hear? Always, over and over again. Well, I want to show you guys something nuts, okay? Do you know what the basilica is named after? Which is a snake. Basilica is a snake. That's the Vatican where the Pope is. It's named St. Peter's Basilica, St. Peter's snake. And then you have this, okay? Peter is considered the first Pope. Did you know that? It's true. Look into it. Strange. Now, he did leave behind a Simon, which means listener to hear. But remember, he changed Peter's name from hearer, listener, to Peter. Okay? But you know what else is really strange that no one has put together at all? Is this. I hope you guys are ready for this, because this is nuts to me. Okay. All right. Where you at? You guys ready for this rabbit hole? Big banana sandwich? Check this out. Well, you got to remember, Peter was inverted, like an antichrist. Antichrist. And you know what else he said to look forward to? He said the number of the beast is the number of a man. Adam adds up to 666 also. Man adds up to 666. Do you know there was two Jesuses? There was Jesus of Nazareth, or they had to choose between Jesus Barabbas. They let Jesus Barabbas, the murderer, go in place of Jesus the good, right? Well, that's not the only time you see that, because later you find out some other things. But let's look at this real quick, guys. Well, Peter's original name was Simon, right? But it was changed to Cephas, okay? Stone, the stone in which he built, I mean, the rock in which he built his church, okay? Which is weird. Peter's original name was Simon, next on the list, but the disciple was renamed, or more accurately, given the name Cephas, or Peter, by Jesus in John 1:42. The Aramaic name Cephas and the Greek name Petros, which is the name for gasoline, the black goo. Petro, Peter, the rock, where we get our money-making oil. Now, here we go. The Aramaic name, all right, so the Aramaic name Cephas in Greek, name Petros, both meaning stone or rock. Interesting, Jesus told Simon, you will be called Peter, emphasis added. And the Gospels show that Jesus continued to call him Simon, with only one exception. The name Peter seems to be widely used of the disciple only after the establishment of the early church, as when Peter was his name, okay? Now check this out. Don't you know there was two Simons? There was Simon who was changed to Peter, but there was Simon the Zealot. So there was one who was actually listening, and there was one who was not. Okay? This is where things get a little nuts. So here you have another Simon, the Zealot. Was the Hebrew name Shimon, which means he has heard. He has ears to hear. In Jewish culture, the one who had heard was understood to be God. And this name was often given when a child was conceived as a result of a prayer. Though Shimon became a popular Jewish name, now the conceived as a result of a prayer, well, that's how John the Baptist was conceived. That's also how Isaac was conceived, through prayer, okay, and faith. All that, same thing. So that's how Shimon was brought into meaning, okay, which was the original name of Peter, but he changed his name as someone who heard to just rock Peter, okay? Now, here's this. This is where things gets nuts. You know, James's name wasn't really James. It was what I was trying to tell you earlier. It was actually Israel, Jacob. James and John. James's real name was Jacob, Israel, which is important. The meaning of his name is heel. Well, who else was that? Well, Jacob, the heel, and his brother Esau. Okay? Esau was not a bad guy. I don't know why people act like he was a bad guy. Esau was appointed just as Seth. Seth was appointed to challenge Osiris, which was Cain, and Enoch, which was his bad son Enoch. Seth was the one appointed to go up against them, just as Esau was chosen to be the one to go up against Nimrod. Esau was the one who slayed the dragon during that time. Esau slayed Nimrod. Esau cut off the head of Nimrod. And then he brings in Job. The most righteous man you read about in the Bible is through the descendant of Esau, not Jacob, not Israel. Okay? He's actually the great grandson of Esau and the Edomites. Okay? Which you have good and bad mixed in that as well. Now, James and John James, his real name is Jacob, which is Israel. Okay? Now, same thing, he who supplants. And although this might seem somewhat negative, the name was extremely popular due to it being the name of the famous grandson of Abraham. Then you have this, John, okay? John's name means literally, which is Yachanan, means Yahweh is gracious. Now, check this out. There was another John as well, John the Baptist. And then there was John Mark. That's Mark's first name is John. Now, here's this. Here you have Bartholomew, which is Bartimaeus, which is actually also Nathaniel, okay? and this means Nathaniel bar Talmi is actually the name he's tied into, the son of Talmai. Okay, so this is Nathaniel, son of Tamai, is his real name for Bartholomew. Okay, that means literally God has given. So John's name means Yahweh is gracious. James literally means the same thing as Jacob / Israel. Bartholomew means God has given. Okay, but then you have this Matthew, which is Matthew, which is Matthew, means literally gift of Yahweh, gift of God. Okay, which is what his name means. Now realize where this is getting at, and then realize about what I was telling you about with Simon Peter. Okay. Then we have this. It gets really nuts. Okay. Thaddeus. Do you know Thaddeus' real name was Judas? But they didn't want to get anybody confused. Judas was Judas Thaddeus, and there was Judas from Iscariot. Iscariot is not Judas's last name. That's Judas of Iscariot. We'll talk about that down here. Okay. And Judas Iscariot's name was really Judah. Strange. So you have two Judases. One actually goes by Judah. Okay. And he was, I believe truly, there's a whole lot behind Judas people are not paying attention to. Just leave it at that. Okay. So my point is this. Okay. You have also with this whole thing, you have two Simons, you have three Johns, you have three Marys, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of Christ, and Mary and Margaret. Mary. Okay. Three Marys and three Johns. John the Baptist, John the disciple, the one he loved, and John Mark. Right? Now, Judas did more than repent. Check this out. Satan entered Judas. Satan betrayed Christ. Judas was so remorsed, he went and he hung himself, both hanging him and Satan who entered him, which is important because that happened right at the time of Christ being taken and everything else. That way, Satan was bound at the same time as Christ. Satan descended to the underworld as Christ descended to the underworld. Technically, Judas slayed Satan along with his own death. He gave himself with Satan to descend to the underworld, which is exactly why you read at the death of Christ, it says, graves opens, all authority was given to Christ, graves opened, many saints exited their tomb and entered into that holy city right at the resurrection. Well, that's because all authority was taken from Satan. He was bound. He had just been killed through Judas. So there's that. That's why his name literally is Judah. Also, very important. So you have a Judah, you have an Israel. If you're not realizing, the 12 disciples are the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes. The lost tribe is this, the 13th colony. That is Christ, the one who gave himself. This is why in the Hunger Game, the 13th colony was sacrificed for the greater good of all the rest. Christ was sacrificed the 13th for all the 12. Same thing happened there. Okay? Strange. And this is what else is weird. The first disciple that died was James. The last one lived, John. Cain and Abel, you have a situation of one living and the other going. But you also have this. Cain means rod. Cain means staff. Cain means pole. Cain also is a form of snake when you get to the plagues of Egypt. And then you have a bull. You have a bull and a snake. You have this. One stomping the head of another and one biting the heel. One killed the other. One stomped the head of it. In the line. That's because he said he put enmity, hatred between the offsprings. One's a snake, one's a bull. A bull, this is why you get Belshazzar with Daniel. His real name's Belshazzar also. And Bel and the dragon, all that other stuff as well. You have a Baal, a bull, a red heifer being sacrificed. And then you have a Cain, a snake, a dragon, Leviathan that's sacrificed. The enmity between the two offsprings, the two seed lines. There's always Esau going up against a Nimrod, and Abraham going up against a Nimrod, and Abraham going up against a lot of other stuff too. Okay? Same thing. Now, so I wanted to make that clear that there's a lot of doubles happening, right? Also, in the sons of David, a lot of people don't know this, and you're not going to find this here on Wikipedia, but you need to know that Daniel, who wrote Daniel, is the Daniel, the second son of King David. Takes a lot of digging to get there, but you will. This is why his death's not mentioned here for a long time. Okay, Daniel lived a prosperous life also, and Daniel was the son of Nebuchadnezzar as well, which is also a mighty king. You need to understand that David, in the later years of his life, well, he committed adultery. He made bad mistakes. That's why he brought Solomon in, who was both blessed and cursed. And Solomon killed everybody except for Daniel, who was saved and protected, so that Solomon could reign as new king over his brothers and sisters, one of those being Daniel, the chosen. Okay? This right here, that Daniel is truly the son of King David. Nebuchadnezzar, just like Nimrod, is another name for mighty king, mighty man, mighty ruler. Nebuchadnezzar, Nebiru. What else you want to get to? Nimrod only means mighty man as well. Their names aren't mentioned in the Lamb's Book of Life. So it gives them false names. It just is what it is. So there's that. I want to show you that too. It's pretty nuts. Okay. So here's, Absalom. Do you know that Absalom is one of the children of King David? And also Absalom, and he's Absalom the Good who slayed also. Absalom is also the caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland. Okay? Pretty crazy. Now. Oh, yeah. This is where it gets nuts. Now, check this out. Watch this. I'm telling you guys about Tartaria, the Tartarian kingdom, and who stole the tarts. Where did they go? Where are the Tartarians? Where's the tarts, kings and queens? Remember I told you about the white caps and stuff? Get a load of this rabbit hole here. The king and queen of hearts were seated on their throne when they arrived, with a great crowd assembled around about them, all sorts of little birds and beasts, as well as a whole pack of cards. The knave was standing before them in chains, with a soldier on each side to guard him. And near the king was the white rabbit, with a trumpet in one hand and a scroll of parchment in the other, played by Michael, with a trumpet and a scroll at the right hand of the king. In the very middle of the court was a table with a large dish of tarts upon it. So at the center of creation, the round table of earth, the center of creation was a shiny table with tarts among it, right? With a large dish of tarts upon it. They looked so good that it made Alice quite hungry to look at them. I wish they'd get the trial done with the two witnesses, great white throne, etc. She thought, and hand round the refreshments. But there seemed to be no chance of this, so she began looking at everything about her. This is chapter 5, by the way, of this Alice in the Lobster Quadrille, which is another side story of Alice in Wonderland. But watch this. Check this out, guys. This is nuts. Okay. The king and queen expecting Tartars in the courtroom. And that's the jewelry box, thought Alice, and those 12 creatures surrounding it. The 12 disciples, the 12 tribes surrounding the throne with the witness sitting at the side of the right hand of the king. Well, this is the same thing described here. The 12 jurors given authority to judge. Remember, during the millennial kingdom, it says that the 12 disciples will be given authority to judge during that reign. Okay, that's why they were given back life. So here's this. 12 creatures. She was obligated to say creatures, you see, because some of them were animals and some were birds. I suppose they are the jurors. She said this last word 2 or 3 times over to herself, being rather proud of it, for she thought, and rightly too, that very few little girls at her age knew the meaning of it all. However, jurymen would have done this just as well. The 12 jurors were all writing very busily on slates. What are they doing? Alice whispered they're writing on stones, writing on plates. They can't have anything to put down yet before the trial's begun. They're putting down their names. They're writing their names. The griffin whispered in reply, for fear they should forget them before the end of the trial. Stupid things, Alice began in a loud, indignant voice, but she stopped hastily, for the white rabbit cried out, silence in the court, and the king put up a
up his spectacles and looked anxiously around to make out who was talking. Alice could see, as well as she were looking over the shoulders, that all the jurors were writing down stupid things on their slates, and she could even make out that one of them didn't even know how to spell stupid, and that he had to ask his neighbor to tell him. A nice muddle their slates be in the before the trial's over, thought Alice. One of the jurors had a pencil that squeaked. This, of course, Alice could not stand, and she went around the court and got behind him and very soon had an opportunity to take it away. She did it so quickly that the poor little juror, which is Bill the lizard, who was trying to write in all kinds of stuff, annoying and aggravating Alice, accusing, trying to write in. Guess what she does to this lizard king? Could not make out at all what had become of it, so after hunting all about it, he was obligated to write with one finger for the rest of the day, and this was very little use, as it left no mark on the slate. A clean slate was given to Alice because she took away the pencil from the accuser, so that his words could not be heard. Herald, read the accusation, said the king. On the white rabbit blew 3 blasts, the 3 trumpets of the at the end. Well, check this out. And then unroll the parchment scroll. Unroll the scroll after the 3 trumpets that blow at the end of time and reads as follows. The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts. All on a summer day. The Knight of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away. Hope you're putting this together. There was a kingdom of tarts. There was a kingdom of Tartaria, but it was taken over by the knife, the knav, the division, the knife, if you want to be specific, who stole the tarts. Consider your verdict, the king said to the jury. Not yet, the rabbit hastily interrupted. There's a great deal to come before that. Call the first witness, said the king. And the white rabbit blew 3 blasts on the trumpet, and he called the first witness at the great white throne. The first witness was the Mad Hatter, John, and the teacup in one hand and a piece of bread and butter in the other. I beg your pardon, Majesty, he began, for bringing these in, but I hadn't quite finished my tea when I was sent for. He was telling the truth because he was locked in the repeated tea party until Alice was to return. Now here we go with this. The Mad Hatter's testifying here, and then you have the false prophet, the March Hare, who denies everything, but then you have the Dormouse, the second witness of Alice, who tells them the truth of everything else. Right? Then, guess what? You have John getting beheaded, but he's brought back to life thanks to the Cheshire Cat for holding true to his testimony. The Cheshire Cat brings him back to life. They escape. They get the sword from the one-eyed creature that Alice restores the eye back to. Eye of horse, eye of Ra. Restores the eye back to the creature, who she rides out of the abyss straight to slay the Jabberwocky dragon at the end of time. So, there we go. Then there's the beheading of the 2 witnesses after they give their testimonies. After they give their testimonies, the evil queen says, off with their head. Noahide law. Noahide law. Off with their heads for telling their testimony. So, I was going to get into this a little bit, but I don't want to do this one. I want to get into some other stuff with you guys. So there's Absalom. I don't want to get into that even more. We've broke that in, tied that in with David. Now there's this. Do you know whose death is not recorded in the Bible? Which is a very important person who should. Mary. Mary's death is not recorded. Mary Magdalene or Mary. Okay? Not recorded at all. Nor is Mary Margaret Mary. But also John, his death is not recorded. John, the one he loved. So here you have a John and a Mary whose deaths are not recorded in the Bible, right? And my point is this, okay? I believe Alice is this. Do you know Mary Magdalene had 7 demons that were attached to her? The 7 deadly sins that were attached to her. And she was forgiven and gotten rid of those 7 demons called Legion, and was given the new name Mary again, called out by Christ. Restored back to herself. 7 crowns. She traded the 7 deadly sins for a new crown, a 7 good sides, the 7 lampstands sitting before the crown. I mean, the throne. right? Pretty nuts, right? Well, I've been telling you also that Christ refers to himself as the second Adam. Well, Mary's referred to as the second Eve. The Bible is a story of redemption. And my point is all this, okay? James and John are Cain and Abel, and Eve is Mary. Christ is Adam. The first part of their life before the flood was nothing but sin and chaos and darkness. The only thing left behind was Noah. All the generations before were led astray. Well, it said Paul says this best. He says, through the sin of one man, all men were given death, but through the life that was given through the other, all were given life. Okay. And then he's literally called the second Adam. Adam was the first created by God, and he, using his words, named every animal and beast and creature in the Garden of Eden using names and words. Adam brought life to those things. And he also was part man and part God. A means alpha, first, begotten, set apart. A, alpha. Dam is red ruby blood. What you have here is alpha, God's first, begotten, only begotten, set apart, different. Because before that, he had a son of darkness, the black sun, in which all the bad in the world was brought through. That's Satan. At the end of the Bible, you're told that Christ will return for his bride. That's Adam returning for Eve, Adam returning for Mary, and the one that he loves. We remember at the beginning of the Bible, he already took Abel for his sacrifice, so he favored. But he told Cain, he says, don't you know if you repent, that I will forgive you. And he says, but I'll die if you mark me and if you don't mark me in this and this. So he puts a mark on him so he would not die. Lamech kills him, but then brings forth Tubal Cain. Cain still don't die. He's given chance after chance after chance to repeat. This is why I read about Nebuchadnezzar repenting. This is where I read about the king of Nineveh repenting for 100 years. This is where I read about Nebuchadnezzar working with Daniel at times. This is where I read about Pharaoh. Also, not the Pharaoh that was involved with Moses, but the Pharaoh involved with Joseph, the good Pharaoh. There was many times that he repented to. Okay? Now, Christ says he's the first and the last. He comes as a lamb and then he comes as a lion. Well, Prince Adam is Prince Adam and He-Man for a reason. He is He-Man. He is Adam, God's blood, God's first begotten. Okay? This book is a story of redemption. At the end, guess who's thrown in the lake of fire? Satan, that great dragon, the false prophet, and the beast, and all those whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life. Who are they? I believe those are the children of Satan, the spawns of Satan, the demons, the devils of the earth, the real society, but also this, the reptilians, the ones that aren't man, aren't us. Okay? Those. And then there's those who do not accept Christ, those who do not deny Christ, those who accept Christ as their Lord and Savior. So, here you have this. It's strange that at the end, you have this man you got to understand. First, Adam brought sin into the world through the apple with Eve and Satan, right? Well, at the end, he's given life and restoring everything. I'm going to show you guys some more evidence behind what I'm telling you because this is really nuts. The whole book, I truly believe, is a story of redemption about Adam, Cain, and Abel. Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. And how they were all led astray, but given a chance to repent and come back at the end. Satan is done away with, and there is finally eternal peace. Okay? That's just how I see it. I believe that through Eve came a lot of evil, through Cain. But also, through Eve, and also through Eve also came good. Through Eve also came Abel. Through Eve also came Seth. Okay, good and bad. Story of redemption, the Bible is. Okay, that's why I believe you also see all throughout too this mother figure and this son figure. Remember, Christ said to John, "Son, behold your mother; mother, behold your son." Am I saying that Mary is to be worshipped? Well, here's this. The Holy Spirit is technically feminine. If you want to be specific about the translation, it's the Holy Spirit is feminine. So you have this masculine God, head, okay? And then you have this feminine Holy Spirit giving birth to a son, okay? Because remember, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then he sent his spirit. The spirit was hovering over the waters. And then guess what? Then you have this introduction of the let there be light, the son brought in. So a father, a mother, and a son, a child, right there at the beginning of time. But before that, there was darkness. Before there was the sun, the light of the world, there was the dark of the world, the black sun, Satan, the adversary. Hope you're understanding this. Now, without the descendants of Cain, we wouldn't have no other choice. We would have nothing to choose in life. Without the descendants of Esau, we wouldn't have Job and that story of the Edomites having somebody to go up against. Without the descendants of, I mean, you can go on and on and on. Without the descendants of certain bad people, we wouldn't have a choice to even be good. This is the whole thing God's trying to show us. He wants to be chosen. He wants to be the good choice. For God so loved the world that he gives us a choice. He's hoping it's his son, the good, not his son, the bad. Gives you a choice. Now, like I said, Mary's death is not recorded, neither is Mary Magdalene, right? So here you have the three Marys. A lot of people are believing, we actually have more than that. Check out this thing here. You have Mary, the mother of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, who was filled with 7 spirits, 7 deadly sins, but was given a new clean start, which is why Diana is given a new crown, right? Then you have Mary of Jacob, James the Lesser, James, the brother of Christ's mother, is also Mary. This is how they piece that together. Okay. Then you have Mary, Mary of Clopas, sometimes identified with Mary of Jacob / Mary of James. Then you have Mary of Bethany. Okay. That's like the Mary and Martha. A lot of people are saying that the Mary Magdalene has a sister named Martha. And this is where Mary and Martha's story comes in. Martha's story comes in where he favored Mary, who anointed his feet. Okay. Pretty nuts. Oh my goodness. All right. So there's always going to be people in the comments. I'm going to let them learn today. So here we go. Let's keep on going. So there's your 3 Marys, but then we have this. This is where things get nuts. So you have the popes, right? But then you have the kings and the queens, right? Now, watch this. Let's start looking at some kings and queens. This is some mind-blowing stuff here. First, you have Prince John of Wales, right? Would you know who Prince John's mother's name is? Prince John's mother's name is Queen Mary, right? Well, what's even more weird than that is Prince Mary's mother is also Mary, right? So here you have John, followed by Mary and Mary also. But then guess what? Here's your Alice. This is how Alice is tied into that, played by Mary Margaret. Mary Margaret is also Snow White in Once Upon a Time, by the way. But watch this, okay? And Henry is also in Once Upon a Time, tied in with all this stuff too. Here you have Mary, the mother of Mary, who is the mother of John, right? There can't be anything more weird than that. But there's another great aunt named Alice. And then there's another grandmother named Mary again. And then we have Alexandra and Alexander, which we've pulled in some other stuff too. But then there's this. She has another brother named George and John, which we've been covering both of these names as well. But then we have this. Let's look at this other Mary, other Queen Mary. Well, this is another Queen Mary, Adeline of Cambridge, right? Daughter of King George. There's your other George. Well, through this Mary, we have, this I want to show you. Check out this Mary. Well, you know the crown of Diana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7 pillars rising. Once was the 7 deadly sins. She was given a new clean crown, right? Now there's that. The 7 pillars rising on this Mary. Then you have the Princess Mary of the other Mary that we were just talking about. Then we have her daughter, who's this Mary. Okay. I want to make sure I ain't skipping stuff because there's so much stuff tied into all this. Oh, yeah. And then her aunt is Marie, which we're talking about too. Maria is all the same stuff as the Mary. All these early kings and queens and all this stuff were once again tied in with the same names, passed down over and over and over. Not to mention the recent Queen Mary. Now, here's another Queen Alice. You can't make it up. Queen Alice. Let's see who our parents are. Oh, here we go. Alice was born on April 25th. She was christened as Alice Maud Mary. Weird. Weird. So now I want to remind you again that things are about to get really, really nuts even more than what they have been. Okay. Now, remember, Barabbas was not Jesus of Barabbas. That was not his name. They put Barabbas, King James approved Barabbas to go over place of Jesus to not discredit Jesus' name. But it was so you wouldn't see these things. Watch this. Oh my goodness, I got to. Boom. This guy just constantly seems to disagree with things on this channel nonstop every single video I make. So I have to get him off of here so he's not leading you guys down some false road or something. So I want to prove this to you. Okay. Barabbas right here. His name was indeed Jesus. Barabbas. Okay. And the older text is actually put in there. Okay. Here we go. Right here. There exists several versions of this figure's name in the gospel manuscripts. Most commonly, simply biblical Greek. Barabbas without a first name. However, the variations include this. Jesus Barahaban. Okay. And then we have this. Jesus Barabbas, found in different manuscripts in Matthew 27, 16, 27, 16 through 17, it says Jesus Barabbas in some text. Give this figure the first name Jesus, making his full name Jesus Barabbas, Jesus Bar-Haraban, and giving him the same first name as Jesus. So the people had to choose between Jesus Barabbas or Jesus of Nazareth. Okay? Awesome, right? So, there you have this also, this choice between Jesus and Jesus. But it gets way crazier than that. There was Simon the Zealot and then Simon who was changed to Peter. But there was also this Simon. This Simon was Simon the sorcerer who was given power. And in some writings, it said that he was able to fly, levitate on command. He was able to heal. He was able to do all these things falsely. Here you have an antichrist of another Simon character right here of this. Look, the apocryphal works, including in the Acts of Peter and the Epistle of the Apostles, Simon also appears as a formidable sorcerer with the ability to levitate and fly at will. Well, that works good for levitation and flying. Christ said that they would be able to do that, right, to deceive the masses. He will sometimes be referred to as the bad Samaritan due to his malevolent character. Okay? Weird. Okay, so you have this Simon the sorcerer, okay, who is doing this crazy magic stuff and who goes up against Peter as well because Peter calls him out on some stuff. Okay, that's weird. Anyway, all right, let's go somewhere else. Then we have Simon the Zealot here. Same thing. He was martyred as well for his zealousness. But do you know what's real nuts? Is he's Simon, and that word zealot is actually a mistranslation. It's actually supposed to be translated as Simon the Canaanite. Simon Canios. Simon the Canaan. Simon the Canaanite. See where that's going to? Weird. And you have a John guy going up against it saying that zealot was mistranslated in the gospel to zealous, right? Weird. John's involved in this too. So there's that. Talked about the first disciple that was killed was James the Greater, the brother of John, sons of thunder. But I want to show you this. I'm telling you guys, James and John are indeed truly the two witnesses that have been going throughout time, throughout this test time, the two witnesses that have been enlightening us, truly establishing us. Now, I also want to say this. I believe that Enoch and Elijah were also repeats throughout. Look, I'm trying to tell you, if you read and study truly the old text, it's a lot of things that point to Enoch also being a repeat of someone of the past, just like Melchizedek. is a repeat of someone of the past. Methuselah is a repeat of someone from the past. Merlin was also a repeat of said Methuselah. Then you have Solomon and all these other people. Same thing, same thing. All right. So here's the scripture I want us to go to. The request of James and John, who I believe are the two witnesses in these days that are telling us all the truths. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him saying, Teacher, they said, we want you to do us a favor. Do for us whatever we ask, because the scripture says, ask and it'll be given, seeking is found when you have faith. Like these two who said, should we call down lightning from the sky on these Gentiles? That's where they get their sons of thunder, right? Now, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. Teacher, they said, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. What do you want me to do for you? Christ asked. They replied, let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left hand in your glory. As your two witnesses. You don't know what you're asking, Jesus said. Can you drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with? We can, they answered. Jesus said to them, you will drink the cup I drink and be baptized in the baptism I am baptized with, but to sit at my right and my left is not for me to grant. That's because Christ never claimed to be the Father. Christ claims to be the Son of God. Got to understand that Stephen sees Christ at the right hand of the Father God. The Father hands the scroll to the Son, the high priest, the only one worthy, the Son of God, the Messiah, okay, at the end of time. Christ is the Son of God. The Pope and all of them hide that so that they can be called Father and also be the mediator that Christ died to be, the way to the Father. They become the way to the Father, the basilica, the mouth of the false prophet. Now, here's this. This is where things get crazy. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared. When the 10 heard about this, they became indignant with James and John. They became jealous, full of envy. Jesus called them together and said, you know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be the first must be a slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life for ransom of many. This is why you have John Tidnell martyred. This is why you have John Wycliffe martyred. This is why you have also John the Baptist head cut off. This is why you have James was the first one to lay down his life for the word of God. James was the first one to die. John was the last one given life. Okay? So, it's strange that this ties right into with what everything I'm talking about. They asked, they were told what they needed to do. Next thing you know, James gives his life for the church. So, and there's the Johns, okay? Now, I'm really going to blow your minds. Tiffany, you're going to like this. I see you're up here. This is some deep stuff here. Watch this. Whew. Gotta take a deep breath before this one. Let me here we go. All right, so you guys know that in the Garden of Gethsemane, some things took place, right? Christ went to pray to his Father in heaven. He wasn't praying to himself. He went to pray to his Father, okay? And while he was praying, the disciples fell asleep, okay? And then this happened. The guards show up to get Christ. Some things took place that no one's paying attention to. Do you know that there was a man that showed up wrapped in linen and he stripped off the linen and went running naked in the middle of all this? Do you know who else died right before this? John the Baptist got his head cut off. Remember? And he got killed. And do you know what else happened? This is going to blow your minds. You ever wondered why the book of Mark is in there and you never read about Mark being a disciple? And Luke, you never read about anything about Luke? I'm going to piece together this banana sandwich for you real quick. All right, here we go. Strange as some things are in the Bible, they all have a meaning and a message to share. Today, our question is about the little verse in Mark 14, 51 and 52 that tells of a young man that fled naked from the Garden of Gethsemane at the betrayal and the arrest of Jesus. Who is this guy? Why is he there? Why is he naked? Let's take a look at this. Then they laid their hands on him and took him. And one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. Then Jesus answered and said to him, have you come out against a robber with swords and clubs to take me? I was daily with you in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me, but the scriptures must be fulfilled. Then they all forsook him and took and fled. Now a certain, read this with me, guys. Now a certain young man followed him, having a linen cloth thrown around his naked body like a mummy. Like Christ, when Christ was died, he was wrapped in linen. When mummies died, they're wrapped in linen. Lazarus came out of his tomb wrapped in linen. Here you have John Mark coming out of a grave wrapped in linen, who then writes the book of Mark. You ever wonder why they said over and over again that John the Baptist had come back to life, that they even thought that Christ was John the Baptist come back to life? There was a rumor that John the Baptist was coming back to life before and after Christ. John Mark is John the Baptist, who died, was buried, wrapped in linen, even without a head, just as all the others were able to come back to life, not all decayed and stuff. John Mark is John the Baptist, who come back to life to help minister. Because remember, that's Elijah and Enoch as well, the same thing that you're going on as well. John Mark came out of his grave, which is exactly John the Baptist, John the Baptizer, came out of his grave wrapped in linen, took their linen off, and took off running naked. Why? To prepare the way for the king. He always prepares the way. Before Christ came, he was there. Before Christ died, he was there. John Mark is John the Baptist, back to life. Okay, there we go. Thought that was pretty nuts. I'm waiting for some feedback. I'm not getting anything yet, though, because it's a little lag, I guess. It'll hit you in a minute. Okay. Christ was wrapped in linen. Also, anyway, there's that. Just do with it what you want to take. Okay. And here's this. All the talks about John the Baptist raising from the dead. Well, here's the origins for that. This is how they've come to that conclusion. Yeah. Renee, earlier you were saying, I think, that you had to leave because I was talking too much, and now you're asking what's coming with a sigh. I guess you missed kind of what just took place while you were gone. I do talk a lot, and I would go on a lot of rants, but a lot of people listen to those things. You missed something crazy right then. Watch this. Okay. You read about, let's see. In the Vox Populi of Max 6:14-16, we find the puzzling claim that some believe Jesus was John the Baptist raised from the dead. The presentation of John in the Gospel is similar to Jesus. Mark depicts John as a prophetic figure who is arrested, executed, buried by his disciples, and according to some, raised from the dead. This paper reviews the scholarship on the question of whether the tradition concerning John's resurrection, as well as tradition of concerning the dead. Because remember, it's always the two witnesses dying and coming back to life. So now you know that John is John Mark. But do you know Luke's real name? Do I have time to get into Luke? I don't know. I'm going to just use what I got here tonight. Oh, I hope this hits you. I'm going to stop here. Okay. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to drop this off right here, and I'm going to pull this up. And I'm going to go over what I discussed with you guys tonight. Okay, so here we go. James and John repeats all throughout history. We mentioned so many. I will quickly skim through this list real quick. Let's see, present. I want to show you something real quick that I've kind of thrown together real quick in the background while I've done some things. Present, screen share, window, and we'll pull up notes. Share. Okay. So here's what we got, guys. We have Michael John Fox playing Milo in Atlantis, going to Atlantean Kingdom. Back to the Future is Michael John Fox. Maui is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Jumanji is Dwayne The Rock Johnson going to Mysterious Island. Rampage is Dwayne The Rock Johnson bringing up the Titans from the Abyss as well. Lost, we have John on the TV series Lost. We have John Brand, who is in Interstellar, the man behind space travel. We have John Hammond, the discoverer of the mysterious island of Jurassic Park. We have John Smith, the discoverer of the New World, who married Pocahontas. And then we have John Smith, who she also married after this John Smith died. She married another John Smith. Then we have John Wayne, the king of the West. Then we have John Wayne from Shanghai Noon, played by Jackie Chan, okay? And then we have Owen Wilson. John Wayne is who Jackie Chan plays as, also to save the Queen. Then we have John and Michael and Peter Pan. We have John Barron and his marvelous journey to the center of the earth. We have John Titor, the time traveler. We have John Wick, who is also Neo and the one who follows the white rabbit into the Matrix to get the blue and red pill. Then we have John Carpenter's Vampires and his discovery of the vampires. And we have They Live, who's played by Roddy Piper, who plays John Nada, who's also John Doe. Then we have Johnny Blaze from the Fantastic Four, who goes to the other planet, comes back with the blazing fire. And also we have John Pyro from the X-Men, who's in charge of the fire, who's a good guy and a bad guy who dies and comes back to life. Johnny Bravo. We have John Proudstar and James Proudstar, the brothers of the X-Men, who are brothers that do all this stuff together. How do I even control this thing? Okay, here we go. We have the Avatar guy who plays Avatar is John, who goes to another planet and has a twin brother who dies, and yet he gets to live on through his brother. Then we have John Madden. Then we have Johnny Appleseed, and we have John Henry, and we have Brandon John Fraser, who is the Mummy, and we have Brandon John Fraser, who is also Jungle Book. I'm sorry, then Renee, I see you down there. I'm sorry. Then we have Brandon John Fraser, who is George of the Jungle, and all the Mummy movies. We have James and the Giant Peach. We have James Potter, Harry James Potter. Harry Potter's dad's name is James as well. Married to Lilith Potter, who's also another name for Eve and Mary and everything else we can get through. It all depends on what time period you're going through. Semiramis, Ishtar, Isis, etc. Then you have James from the Wild Wild West, Will Smith, and then you have James from whatever. So much going on and on and on here. But we did a whole lot more. So you have these repeats going throughout history. We talked about a lot. On and on and on and on and on. Then we talked about the two witnesses, how John was told he would not die until Christ returned, but James would lay down his life first for the church. So there's all that. We talked about a lot. But I'm not even nowhere near done. This is part one of part many, I hope. I'm going to get back into Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass, which actually picks up with Jack Sparrow and his boat, because Alice Wonderland is given a boat called Wonder, and as she takes that boat off in Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass, just like Ra and his chariot, etc., etc., which we're going to be talking about as well. Thank you, Glory. Welcome to the channel. Glory of Yah's creation. So that's about, I don't know how many hours worth of compiling stuff for you guys that I hope you enjoyed tonight. I had a lot of fun. Honestly, I think this is probably my favorite decode that I've ever done in my whole life, because I'm not even done yet. I have more stuff I want to share with you guys. If you guys enjoyed this by any means, I would like for you to please just hit the like button, subscribe button if you want to, hit the notification bell if you're feeling real froggy, so that you can join us on the next one. But more importantly, I really want to go back to this, okay? Please, 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 please make sure that you are doing the following. When you go to my YouTube channel, make sure that you aren't getting lost in the homepage, okay? Like it'll bring you to like this stuff at first, especially if you're on a cell phone. These videos was just to get views, to get my page going. I only have 5,000 subscribers, okay? If you think I'm making a lot of money off YouTube, take it back. 5,000 subscribers here, and I'm demonetized on Facebook. But if you want to get to the meat of my ministry, please click the live section. In the live section, you will find everything, all of it, beginning to end. And also, you'll find my playlist I've put together for you guys. Tonight's video is already in 1,000 Year Reign decode over here. Okay, right here, it should be like, yep, the last one. All these are in order. I encourage you guys to start back here and go all the way through with these mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence provided. Okay. Um, so there's that. Hope you guys enjoy going through all that stuff. Oh, yeah. Also, I can exit out of that now. Facebook page, very important. You're not going to find this page. If you look up Beyond the Veil on Facebook, you'll see a bunch of scammers and shammers. I am Beyond the Veil. I am Rowdy Piper. um, Not really. I'm not like a real of Roddy Piper, if that's what you're wondering. No, I'm just telling you, it's pretty crazy. Um, if you go and look for my page and you don't find Beyond the Veil this page, okay, make sure that you look up my personal page. This is how I usually have to send people to my page. Go up here and type in Dustin, and I put my middle initial so people would it kind of helps you find it even more. Dustin R Bar, okay, and when you get here, you'll come to my personal page where you can go over to number one, hear my testimony here. I encourage you guys to check it out. And number two, click here and go to Beyond the Veil from here if you can't find it anywhere else. Okay. I see that. Oh, sweet. We have Melissa down here in our chat box being a big help. She has posted my Facebook link, which I believe is in the description as well. Okay. And you can come here, constantly sharing stuff and updates. So there's that. All right. Now, closing remarks. I do want to say I'm going to go live here coming up again, and I am planning another trip as far as me going out to one of the surrounding states doing baptisms again. It's just I haven't been able to set it up quite yet. I've had a lot going on, especially with all this stuff happening in the background. That also being said, um, I do put a lot of time into this. This is all I do for my job, my work, my family. And I'm totally relying on God to completely sustain this channel and keep it going and keeping it afloat. But in order that to happen, I need you guys as well. If you're willing to donate in any way, I do have my Cash App, my PayPal, and my Venmo down there. If you want to donate $1, there's 120 of you up here. That's $120. That could easily get me a gas and some food for the next couple of days. $1 per person. Sweet. So if you guys want to help out in any way, knowing that I only have 5,000 subscribers, not 5 million or 500,000 or 50,000 or 55,000, I have you guys. In order for this channel to stay afloat right now, I'm depending on you because it's the only kind of income I have unless I want to go back to carpentry work and doing remodeling work and stuff like that, which would literally not give me any time to present this stuff. Lastly, I want to say something. Miss Margaret, we're on the same page. All right. Lastly, I want to say this. I have multiple shirts now coming, but this is the first of the shirts that we have coming out. This is my banana sandwich t-shirt. If you don't know what banana sandwich is, it's kind of like my slang for this is going to be crazy. This is going to be nuts. Okay. So I'm selling these through Miss Margaret Dooley over here. If you want to have information on this, go check out my Beyond the Veil Facebook page. She has a link there for the t-shirt designs and stuff like that. We're going to be selling those as promotional stuff. And I have another shirt, Beyond the Veil, that I wear right often. I'm going to be selling copies of that as well, if you guys kind of want to get that as well. And I'm hoping that I can start going back and people that have donated, try and pay forward with that as well. But that's kind of like my sponsorship advertising. At least it took place at the end of the video and not any other time. So 112 of you, thank you for sitting and taking part of that. But other than that, that's all I got for you. Thank you guys so much for taking an hour and 58, another 2 hours to sit here with me tonight. I have enjoyed every single second with you guys. Had a blast. I'll see you on the next one. Be sure to check out the Facebook page for updates on when my next live will be, and I'll see you there. Love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in tonight on this wonderful end of our Sabbath. I'll see you on the next one. Good night from Beyond the Veil. Love you guys.